Hey, you don't look so good, Ned.
10% of ocean plastic is made up of nurdles, and nurdles can resemble fish eggs that are eaten by animals, which mistake them for food.
Hey, buddy. Buddy? Ah!
And when a larger animal eats lots of smaller creatures that have all eaten infected nurdles, we get something called bioaccumulation, which moves all the way up the food chain to us.
Everyone stay together. Stay together and we'll be all right. Oh, no! He's got me! Fight, Ned! Fight! Whew. Man, that was close. Guys?
It seemed like our food was looking more and more like plastic, and the plastic out in the ocean was looking more and more like food. But how prevalent was this problem of animal ingestion? Biologist Dr. Jan van Franeker has been voluntarily dissecting the stomachs of seabirds from around the world. His main focus is the fulmar, a bird that spends most of its life at sea. A brief tour of his home island of Texel revealed that large amounts of plastic floating in the ocean can come back to land.
Viscous cat milk. A special type of waste bag. You can calculate that on the beaches here, about 7 to 8 kilograms of litter washes ashore on every kilometer of beach every day.
90% of the birds that Jan dissects reveal plastic. The average amount found is 0.6 grams, which for a human is about the size of a lunchbox. The most extreme example is 20 grams.
That would be about 2 kilograms of plastic, which is really a lot.
This fulmar also contained a lot of plastic.
Well, cut it open and rinse it out. Fragment of some fairly hard plastic item. Industrial granule. Big fragments of yellowish plastic in there. Quite a lot, this one. This is a lot of plastic. This is above average. Just over a gram, I suppose. And different types of user plastics. So foam, very small pieces of plastic bags.
Dr. Franeker explained that having all that plastic in the gut can affect body condition and breeding success. Like Captain Moore, Jan feared the chemicals that plastic absorbs could be harming the birds more severely than a chunk lodged in their stomach.
These fulmars indeed ingest all that sort of stuff and undoubtedly extract part of it into their blood system, and there's definitely harmful chemicals among that.
Dr. Shige Takada studies the chemicals absorbed by plastic. At a beach outside of Tokyo, he was able to collect over 400 nurdles in less than 30 minutes. Local volunteers, who were already here and busy performing a beach cleanup, were more than happy to pitch in and help. Back at his lab, Shige demonstrated the long and complicated process for how he analyzes the chemicals in plastic. It was beyond most people's comprehension, but one key detail stood out.
We compared the PCB concentrations in resin pellets and the surrounding seawaters. The comparison indicates the accumulation factor is 1 million.
In other words, all those chemicals in the ocean remain diluted, until they come into contact with plastic. With 1 million times more chemicals than the surrounding seawater, these insignificant bits of confetti become poison pills, available to the whole food chain. But wait a second, wasn't recycling supposed to save us from all of this? In Toronto, Canada, they have a citywide recycling program that handles paper, glass, metal, plastic, and kitchen waste. So what exactly are people throwing away? Well, it turns out, of the 7 different categories of plastic, the majority of recycling in North America only consists of number 1 and number 2 plastics. And of those, it's less than 40% that get recycled. The rest goes to landfill, where it sits with food scraps and newspapers for centuries. Nothing can degrade in a landfill because it's hermetically sealed. Without oxygen and the right microorganisms, nothing will go away. The first problem is plastic's lightweight but doesn't compress, so it takes up a lot of space both in the recycle bin and on the trucks. Then there's the issue of mixed plastics. Because manufacturers and recyclers don't go bowling together, recyclers can never predict the types of products they're likely to receive.
You know, you'll see a high-density polyethylene container with a polypropylene top, or with an aluminum cap with a steel ring on it, and that really poses a challenge from a recycling standpoint. You haven't got now one product that you can send off to be turned into a new product. It's one product that's got 6 different types of plastics and a couple different types of new metals on it. Throw it on your blue box, but we'll see it, and all of a sudden we get calls from our end users of bales that we send off saying, what is this product? And now, we're forced to go back and tell residents we can't accept it. That creates a whole problem with the manufacturers saying, hey, you know what? It's got most of this product that's recyclable. It's not 100%, but you should take it. Here's one that's got a polypropylene washer on it. You can see some of these little caps that are attached to it. You see little containers like this that have different little snouts and caps that are a completely different type of plastic. So, there still is that disconnect, and I think, we need to really address that.
So who's doing it right? With a plastic bottle recycling rate of over 90%, Denmark seemed like a good place to start.
Step 1, you put the bottle in the machine.
The obvious incentive for the Danes is deposit return. By placing a value on these products, they ensure there is very little visible plastic pollution. The bottles end up at state-run recycling depots where they are sorted and returned to the manufacturers, like Carlsberg and Coke. Coke even cleans their plastic bottles so they can be reused up to 20 times. And while the system is efficient, it is only certain bottles. The remainder of Danish plastic waste goes to this guy, who grinds it up for flower pots and other functional plastic items. So far, cities are failing miserably at recycling. Somewhere in the process of collection, sorting, and reprocessing, city recyclers are powerless to keep up with the flood of plastic designs. With glass, we only have green, clear, and brown. With plastic, it's limitless. Even the Danes admit that more and more one-way plastic bottles are hitting the market, with other used plastics mainly going to incinerators. In Houston, Texas, Henry Sullivan has found profit in waste plastic. When the city decided to stop its recycling program, Henry picked up the slack. His company, Tytech, takes any and all plastic waste, melts it down, and forms it into one single product, railroad ties, which he then sells to railroad companies around the world.
There are more than 15 million railroad ties a year installed every single year in North America.
In addition to accepting industrial waste plastic like pallets, medicinal bottles, tires, police tape, his neighbors also came calling.
One of my neighbors read about what we do, came to the house and said, I used to recycle and I really believe in it, but I stopped doing it because no one cared. Can you use plastic? And I said, yeah.
They're supposed to last longer than wood, are impervious to termites, and can be recycled again and again. Best of all, every railroad tie in the world is the same size. That means just one mold.
The true social cost of this stuff going in the waste side is borne by the taxpayers and the public. It's not a neat budget line item in the federal budget, but it's a big social cost. If we told people that we were going to plant 20,000 trees next year and take hundreds of millions of plastic bottles and plastic bags out of the environment and consume 750,000 tires, that would be a very nice environmental story. We're going to do that not because we're environmental good guys. That's actually the best source of raw materials for what we do.
宇宙风，秦始皇靠着这把宝剑，短短10年之间完成中国第一个大统一。他的王朝却过不了3代，毁在赵高的手里。宇宙风如何成为一把亡秦之剑？且看国光歌剧团《宇宙风》。今晚12点，表演打天下，就在公视13频道。
你就是传说中的死神吗？
我只是这座桥的守护者，只有当你们渡不过的时候，我才会成为死神。
孩子不应该存在，让他在这个世界上消失。
放开我！你是一个双面人，我要怎么相信你？
黄河
王八蛋！
是谁在呼唤死亡？
每周六晚间9点，《死神少女》。
死神少女节目，感谢元刚科技赞助播出。
Another business using a ton of plastic is agriculture. In Oregon, mountains of twine from hay bales, flower trays, and an assortment of plastic sheeting were all being diverted to Alan Youngsma of Agriplas. He processes 18 million tons of plastic a year. That's about 15% of the state's waste. The twine is ground up and packed into cubes that will later be turned into bumpers and truck liners. Flower trays are chewed up into flakes and shipped to manufacturers to be turned into more flower trays and pots.
As long as those pots can be recycled or get here to our facility, that circle can go around and around and around for a long time.
But is using a percentage of recycled material in our flower pots really recycling? Or melting down a whole bunch of plastic into one product? Is turning bottles into plastic sheeting and packaging really recycling? Or is it downcycling, turning one product into an inferior product? Downcycling doesn't stop new plastic items from being made. For years, the California clothing company Patagonia has been turning plastic bottles into soft fleece jackets. That didn't sound like downcycling.
Here we have a 100% recycled plastic jacket. And the feed that goes into here is about 2% bottles and about 98% random plastics like old office chairs and shower curtains and things that you would never imagine could be recycled.
That means Patagonia will take back any old items and recycle them into new clothing. This closed-loop system seems like a true model for recycling, if only they could find a way to get people to give back their warm and cozy jackets. One company that has no problem reclaiming its product is Georgia-based Interface Cargo.